The PBPK Workshop was a transformative event held in Kampala, Uganda, where clinicians, scientists, and regulatory stakeholders gathered to explore the application of physiologically based pharmacokinetic (PBPK) modeling.
This work has great overlap with the Institute's strategic direction over the next 5 years. Our intention over the next 5 years to really focus on priority populations for impact. The plan also highlights data science. Way back in 2019, the Institute within Makerere inaugurated a Center of Excellence in Data Science and Bioinformatics. That center is only one of two in the African continent. We believe the Institute is kind of a tip of the spear in helping Makerere as a significant entity to use data science to foster science and lead to societal impact.
In a country such as Uganda, where we have a median age of 15, high fertility rate, 25% of women have their first child before the age of 18, we really need to understand how drugs can be used safely in pregnancy, breastfeeding and young children, and yet it's really difficult to do those trials. So that's where a technique like physiologically based pharmacokinetic modeling comes in, because we take everything we know about the body and the physiology, everything we know about the drug, and we bring it all together using complex mathematical equations which can be simplified to the end user by the use of certain software.
The PBPK 2024 workshop, hosted by the Infectious Diseases Institute in partnership with Radboud University Medical Center and other global partners, brought together 65 delegates and 11 tutors from 12 countries for 3 days in January 2024.
The workshop exceeded expectations because it was very clear that there was a huge appetite to learn more about PBPK, but not only that, but to establish the collaborations and the mentorship and the partnerships that are really necessary to bring this technique where it's needed.
The goal was to bridge the gap between PBPK modeling experts and decision makers in global drug development and clinical care, and to provide hands-on worked examples using the SimSip simulator.
Coming here and seeing all these people who are really into modeling and are excited about it, that I think, well, in 10 years, we should not be doing that in the Netherlands or the UK. It should be done here. The data are here. And maybe we can collaborate and share, but more in a collaborative way. And that's something that really excites me.
When medicines are to be used in pregnant and breastfeeding women or children, there is often limited dosing information. PBPK models validated with clinical data offer a promising solution.
When you're pregnant, there's a lot of physiological changes which occur. Your body weight increases, the volume also, so there is a risk of underexposing women, which could lead to a lack of efficacy. There is a risk of overexposing these women, which could lead to a safety risk. So with PBPK, we can predict, make simulations and evaluate whether a dose adjustment is deemed necessary when it comes to pregnant women. And the beauty of it is that we can also even make predictions for the various trimesters.
I work in pharmacology, I look at models, I look at how to parameterize the models, do the experiments to get these PBPK models out. But in Africa, really, there's a clear application of using these models, which is, I mean, you have to go over here to see what all the possible applications are, so it's great to be able to contribute to that.
The workshop aimed to achieve several key objectives. Participants delved into the fundamentals of PBPK modeling, exploring its impact on drug development and considering crucial factors when applying these models to evaluate drug dosing in specific understudied populations.
Many of us have been working in the global health space for the last few years. Well, in fact, I say last few years, but last 10 years, supported by the Gates Foundation. And we've been working on the models. And I think what you've seen in the workshop here is that people are very interested in actually seeing the application. And I think that enthusiasm and taking it back within the company. And we've got a lot of experts in the area, a lot of people who are keen to learn the application side, especially in the global health space.
Here we have in the same room different countries. Maybe they never met before, but today they met on the same subject. The language is different, but the goal is the same. And they will use the same drugs, not for the same population, for different population in Africa, but the approach are the same.
Through interactive simulations using SimSip software, Delegates gained practical experience using PBPK models to assess the impact of physiological changes on drug disposition.
The type of modeling that we use is basically bridging preclinical science, mechanistic pharmacology to really clinical application. And obviously the skills and the knowledge for doing the clinical application is here in Africa. So we need to build capacity here in Africa. So it's really great to be able to contribute to that.
Discussions revolved around establishing the necessary framework for incorporating simulation-based evidence to inform optimal drug use.
Modeling can be useful as well to serve populations with specific needs such as malaria, like other diseases. And modeling could be used to actually predict these effects on drug concentrations and further confirm the safety of these drugs in these specific populations. Outcome could be big and have high impact on the health of the people in countries with limited.
I think it is imperative to have a workshop right here in this low middle income setting. But my counter argument to this is I believe this is not an issue for just low middle income country. For a long time, this has been an issue for every country, either it's high income or low income, because when we work in the area of global health, I believe this is a true global health issue.
The workshop addressed regulatory aspects of PBPK modeling, providing insights into its integration into the drug development and approval process. The outcomes were significant. The workshop marked the first ever dedicated PBPK event in East Africa, laying a strong foundation for future collaborations and growth in the region.
So for us it was important, first of all, to show our partners that we have infrastructure, that we have systems in place, we have the context in which to do this work.
I think we can have a bigger change here and a way bigger impact with the diseases people are working on here right now, which actually may really impact mortality and morbidity way more, I think, than many of the other countries we're working in. And that's so exciting. And for me, it's also exciting to get out of our Western European bubble and meet all these exciting people that are working here on all these diseases that have so much impact here on health and being able to improve that.
2. Enhanced understanding. Delegates gained a deep understanding of PBPK principles and simulations, appreciating the complexity of these models.
Many of the world disease challenges are actually still in Africa. And so it's pertinent that we do the research here, we find solutions here. It's time for us as Africa to be part of the solution.
We can answer some questions that allow us to focus our research into a small proportion of people to feed in more data, so we get that sort of ongoing cycle of learning and iteration with the modelling. So it really helps us to target where we need the clinical information for those populations that are harder to find, reach, or have ethical issues in recruiting.
Delegates recognized the critical need to use PBPK models for addressing complex questions related to dose selection in traditionally underserved populations.
Pharmacometrics has a great opportunity in Africa because while being top-notch science, it does not require top-notch equipment. So it's something that can be done relatively in an affordable way in an African context, because all it's needed is really a brain, and there's plenty of those in Africa, computers, which are affordable, and software, which is affordable as well. And in the case of Africa, there's so much data that can come out of clinical trials here, and it's so much more meaningful if it can be interpreted by people that also know the context and can apply it here, and while doing that, they can develop the skills.
At the moment, most of the pharmacometrics is done within academic settings. So we actually need some kind of scholarship support to these young pharmacometricians so that they can be able to enroll in universities and partake this kind of projects.
4. Practical experience. Delegates left with hands-on experience of using the software with an appreciation of how to apply this knowledge in real-life scenarios.
So in terms of the workshop, this was a collaborative partnership between investigators at Radboud University in Nijmegen and the Maternal and Infant Lactation Pharmacokinetics group at the Infectious Diseases Institute, both of whom had obtained funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to bring a PBPK course to Africa.
The key thing is funding. So if we can get more people to fund, then it means we can be able to train more African researchers.
Clinical trials can be very expensive, and as much as possible, you really want to get it right. And PBPK model, being a very mechanistic tool, can really help us to make predictions, to know, explore different dosage strategies and know which one to prioritize.
I've been fortunate enough to have this training, and I would really love to pass on to this skill set and train and mentor other professionals.
In conclusion, the PBPK 2024 workshop in Kampala was a catalyst for change, offering a promising avenue to optimize drug therapy for the most underserved populations. Let's continue working together to ensure that no one is left behind in the quest for optimal pharmacotherapy. Let's continue building partnerships and keep innovating.